Good evening, and welcome to the Lazy After Dark. And today we're going to be discussing controversial topics on politics, religion, pop culture, and 420 news. Our panel includes B. Lee, the Lady Sharecropper Business Manager, Pax, Assistant Business Manager, and D, Social Media Director of the Lady Sharecropper Hydroponic Garden Supplies. Was Jesus an extraterrestrial being on this earth? Let's take a look.
Discussed that extraterrestrials might have been able to come down here or have came down here, matter of fact, and exchanged knowledge with us. So I wouldn't go as far to say that he was an extraterrestrial himself. He could just be somebody who was enlightened by a higher power, who was truly one with what's around him and had an understanding of the universe in a way that we couldn't even fathom right now. That's what I think Jesus is and who I think he was.
Me personally, I don't necessarily think my beliefs on this subject in general are they aren't necessarily aliens that we've been referring to. So I honestly do believe there's something more, how do I say, not necessarily just holy but spiritual. They're more of a spiritual and intelligent beings than us. And I don't think Jesus was necessarily one of those, but I do believe, and I know there are many other people who study history who could agree that Jesus was a great man, a really good man who did indeed suffer. I honestly believe he suffered for our sins, and he might not have necessarily, been an angel with wings, and I don't think any of the other greater beings are either. And I mean, realistically, the UFOs we're seeing, there's not aliens that are driving them. I mean, they're just higher beings than us. And that's kind of what I feel Jesus was, but he was supposed to be a lesson for us to have learned from, and we didn't. We rejected him, and that's why everything else followed. But I mean, we're gonna have our chance to come back. Some of us, those of us who don't, I won't see you there.
And now, our special guest, Mike Bird.
Hey, I think Jesus is. I'm 50-50 with the question: is Jesus an extraterrestrial being? I feel like in circumstances, I feel like Jesus was an alien. I just believe in the whole thing where that it's another form of life out there other than humans. And I can say, I mean, my personal beliefs, I do believe in aliens, and I do believe there are aliens out there. I don't know, it goes back to, you can take it back. The government has known about it for years and years and decades. You can go on about it, but I do, to get back to the question, I do believe that Jesus was, I can't say an alien, but was and is another form of life. And I want to say, other than that, I do believe that it's a lot going on, in the world that's, dating back, that's just, making the curve, making, if you do your research, you can see, that certain current events going on today, are coming into, it's all coming in together, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on now, what happened, back in the early century, the 18th century, even the 17th century. But yeah, I do think, Jesus is, extraterrestrial, and, enjoy life, because it is coming to an end. We are in the last days. So yeah.
UFO disclosure. Sooner or later.
We're dealing with intelligences, guys. That could be a million years ahead of us in terms of technology.
Disclosure cannot happen right now because people aren't ready, and there is no way to lift up Pandora's box just a little bit. Yeah. Because once you crack Pandora's box, all hell breaks loose. You can't tell just a little bit of the story, because if you start telling even a little bit, you're going to have a time bomb on your hands, because everybody is going to want to know more.
The extraterrestrial reality, as I have said and will continue to say till the day I die, is the greatest story in human history. And it must be told. Eventually it will be told. But I don't anticipate living to see it. I have often thought that it may take another 50 years. When I first began, I had no idea what I was getting into. I learned years and years ago that this was real, that the government knew it was real, and the government was sitting on top of it. But when I was in the infantry, or in the military, I was at Shape Headquarters in Paris, Cosmic Top Secret Clearance. I couldn't talk about it. I simply dedicated my life to finding out what it was really all about. When I left the military, we knew of 4 different groups, and one of those groups looked exactly like we do. They were all humanoid, but one was literally, totally human. I got so damn sick and tired of arguing with skeptics who've never bothered to do their homework. These guys are still living in the 19th century, many of them. And it's like I mentioned to you before, I think a lot of it is that there's a deep-seated fear that if this is really true, what's that going to mean to my view of the world? Well, it's going to mean your view of the world is going to collapse around your damn ears. The skeptics say, you can't keep secrets. The government can't keep. Well, the hell they can't. They have done it from the beginning. How do you tell people that JFK, poor guy, was bumped off as a result of a conspiracy? It's easy to lie to the American people because they really don't do their homework. As long as you keep them entertained, they're happy. It's part of the national security state, and it's based upon, frankly, I think, the reality of the extraterrestrial presence, which the government today will not even begin to admit, will not even begin to address, because as I jokingly told you before, if you open Pandora's box just a tiny bit, the lid's going to fly off, and then all hell, you know. And they don't want that. Because when that happens, when that reality impacts the average individual on this planet, not just the American people, but the whole human species on this planet, when that reality impacts them, nothing will ever be the same. It's impossible to address the reality of the extraterrestrial presence unless you've studied history. Because they have been with us for several thousands of years. And history is filled with it. It really isn't about so-called UFOs. It isn't about extraterrestrial presence on the planet. It's about us. That's the big secret. Who we are, how we came to be, and where we're going. That is the real essence of this whole thing. And so it is so vast and so earth-shaking in its implications that I now understand why the government can't release it. Not even a little bit, at least for now. The human race has some growing up to do. And we're slow learners. Sadly enough, there's going to be a lot of lives lost and a lot of bloodshed before we finally...
I think that in any situation, that knowledge is power. And that if you can withhold knowledge, then you're suppressing everybody else, and you're holding us all back. But also, there's times where somebody or whoever's running the government right now might feel like the knowledge of having extraterrestrial life would be more chaotic for the human race right now as a whole. And at the end of the day, I think that there shouldn't be anything hidden. If a government that I'm under or whatever that's over me, there shouldn't be anything that's hidden from me or from the general population. Like I said, knowledge is power, and they're probably just scared of what will happen if we get our hands on that knowledge and what it could bring. Because we won't. A lot of people would think about things completely different, and a lot of the rules in the government are based on ideologies and rules that people wouldn't really consider or really wouldn't take serious anymore, just based on a lot of beliefs that people would stop having.
I agree with Dealey on the fact that, you know, knowledge is power, and to withhold knowledge will also give you power. I mean, all of that. We all have our own ability to choose what we want to do. You know, whenever we learn something new or whatever, with, you know, anything, whether it's to learn to make fire or if we see some UFOs or whatever. Okay, so the government coming in contact with UFOs and hiding it, I'm sure they have come to find out that these are, you know, what they're capable of, and try to mimic that. And when you try to mimic these kinds of beings, that's kind of like how you know, back to our first episode when I say there is a just system up there. There is, you know, everything is just. There is one government that is supreme, and it really is just, and it will, in turn, everything will fall under that. I mean, people have been trying to mimic. Flying saucers. We have planes that can fly undetected by other militaries, you know, radars and stuff like that aren't even piloted by anything, and then, you know, they're stealth. They're meant to be quiet and everything. Like, where did we get the ideas to come up with that? I mean, all this stuff, and we're using it for war. That we off the bat made the wrong decision, and that is why we are meeting our end. But you know, there is going to be a few who get forgiveness, who really knew what was right and didn't, because the odds are against us. It's not our fault, nobody's fault, but it is. Like, ultimately, you got to make that right decision, man. A lot of us didn't.
Question. This new world order, we already got it. So what do you think? Paradise or oblivion? What say?
Nazi forces seek to establish systems of government based on the regimentation of all human beings by a handful of individual rulers who seize power by force.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
And the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
A new world order is coming into being, but it looks less and less like the world order that Mr. Kissinger had constructed in his own mind.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
What is the Bohemian Grove? Well, it's a kind of summer camp for the powerful.
Among its members, political figures like Gerald Ford, President Reagan, Vice President Bush, Richard Nixon is a Bohemian. Each year, guests like Henry Kissinger or Zbigniew Brzezinski address members on their areas of expertise.
Be a poster child for these people because you have served on the board of the Council on Foreign Relations. You helped start the Trilateral Commission, and you've been to the Bilderberger groups.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
I don't believe in this notion of some sort of secret societies controlling people. But of course, in any political system, there are sort of over-the-table and under-the-table arrangements.
It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine.
By the military-industrial complex.
Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
We can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light.
No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
The quest for the new world order is in part a challenge to keep the dangers of disorder at bay.
We were interested today to hear that more than 100 law enforcement officials in Mexico are having microchips implanted in their arms. The chips allow a person to be scanned, sort of like a cereal box at the supermarket checkout.
I think the most important thing is for Barack Obama.
I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created.
I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation.
But the burdens of global citizenship continue to bind us together. In this new century, Americans and Europeans alike will be required to do more, not less. Partnership and cooperation among nations is not a choice.
Yes, these men and their hypnotized followers call this a new order. It is not new, and it is not order.
I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
New World Order. It's a crazy concept to think that everything could be dismantled and restarted in one singular thinking and governing. I think the idea of it is, I wouldn't even say the idea of it is good, because the idea of it would be basically to control everybody. And our individuality is what makes us us. So a new world order, it all depends on who's running it, I guess. There's nothing that we could really do to stop it if the powers that be decided to switch it up on us and really just decide to be a tyranny.
New order. The new order that is gonna come is gonna fall fast because it's not good people behind it. It's not gonna be designed but for anything else but control. Just like right now, our orders we have are designed, it's population control right now, but it's gonna become more and more control. I mean, it's gonna become slavery. It's gonna become, who knows where it's gonna go from there. But that order will get crushed by a real new order, and the real order is going to be just, and that is, I feel, will in turn be paradise. But in order to get that paradise, I understand, like, yeah, it seems like control, but once granted all that knowledge together, once we all have the same knowledge and we all have the same feelings in terms of not trying to portray the creator, and we're all on the same page with that. Like, there's no need to do wrong. There's not going to be no need to do wrong. We're all on the same page. All the ignorant is weaned out. I mean, everyone is gifted this knowledge, and yeah, it seems like control, but as long as it's the creator in that control, it's not wrong. If anyone else is, believe that's wrong. And I mean, look at what we live. We're all humans here, but like, it's not our government that's in control. There's people with big pockets that are in control right now of the world. They rule the world. But the order, how it's supposed to be, how our government is supposed to be, it will all still be individuals, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to teach us. like, to keep us ignorant is a bad thing. That's a bad thing. If you teach us, we could do good with it. We'll all be on that same page to do good with it. And anyone else who wasn't, the Creator will take care of that. I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. That sounds like heaven. But, like, you know, some people will feel like it's control. I guess.
Heaven. Hell. What is heaven? What is hell? Which one you want to be in? Heaven or hell?
Well, of course I wouldn't want to be in heaven. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in hell. I wouldn't want to be in heaven. But I think that heaven, of course, is paradise. Hell is the opposite. And for you to want to be in anything other than paradise would just be foolish of you. For you to live your life in a way that will end you up in hell, it's like you're cutting your own head off, you know? Like I said, if you choose to live that life and to be a person that comes down with the fall of the world and the fall of man, then that'll be on your own accord.
You have to acknowledge that there's a higher power than us, and that none of us can measure up to it. So, I mean, it's simple. As long as you could really give thanks to God for everything you have and give Him His acknowledgments, you're fine. But if you think this is all you, and that all your success is because of you, and that you're in your life because of you, or the same way, if you're doing bad and you're blaming it on God and all that, and you get all angry at Him, your spot is not guaranteed until you make right in your mind and in your heart. This is just the flesh. Learn the lessons that He's trying to teach, and we'll all make it to heaven, but not everyone will learn those lessons in time.